The Alien. Laughter in a grand, shimmering hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from all corners of the universe had gathered. The room was filled with the hum of alien languages, a mix of strange sounds and lights as different species communicated in their unique ways. At the center of the room, standing tall and proud, were the leaders of the most advanced civilizations. They had gathered for an important meeting, but the atmosphere was light, even jovial. The topic of discussion today was the human race. Humanity, the newcomers to the galaxy, had been a curiosity for many years. Despite their relatively young age among the stars, humans had made quite a name for themselves. They were known for their stubbornness, creativity, and a strange ability to adapt to almost any situation. However, to these advanced alien civilizations, humans were still seen as primitive and backward. One of the alien leaders, a tall, slender being with shimmering blue skin and eyes that glowed like stars, addressed the council. His name was Chlorvax, a respected admiral from the Zarnak Empire, known for its powerful fleets and cutting-edge technology. He spoke in a calm, almost mocking tone. "Esteemed members of the council," Chlorvax began, his voice echoing through the hall, "I bring to your attention a rather amusing matter. The humans, in their typical fashion, have resurrected an old warship. They call it the Relic. Can you imagine? A relic of a time long past, when humans were still learning to walk among the stars." The room erupted in laughter. The idea of a human warship, especially one so old, being of any threat was simply ridiculous to these advanced beings. They had seen human ships before, small, clunky, and far inferior to their sleek, powerful vessels. The notion that this relic could pose any danger was laughable. Another alien, a short, stout creature with 4 eyes and a shell-like body, spoke up. His name was Graktul, a scientist from the Vortan Collective, known for their mastery of nanotechnology. "Why do they even bother?" He chuckled, his voice like a deep rumble. "That ship is nothing but scrap metal, a floating museum piece. It's a wonder it hasn't fallen apart already." Chlorvax smirked, enjoying the laughter of his peers. "Indeed, Graktul," he said, "but humans have always had a strange attachment to their past. They cling to their old ways, thinking they still have some relevance. But this relic, it's just a reminder of how far behind they really are." The laughter grew louder, echoing off the walls of the grand hall. For these alien leaders, the idea of humans being a threat was absurd. They had seen what real warships looked like, massive, sleek, armed with weapons that could destroy entire planets. Compared to that, the relic was a toy, a relic in the truest sense of the word. As the laughter subsided, Chlorvax continued, "We should let them play with their toy. Let them believe that this relic is something special. It will make their eventual defeat all the more satisfying." The other leaders nodded in agreement, their faces still showing traces of amusement. To them, humans were like children, playing with things they didn't fully understand. The idea that this ancient ship could pose any real threat was beyond belief. However, not everyone in the room was laughing. In a corner of the hall, a lone figure sat silently, watching the proceedings with interest. This was Ambassador Marcus Kane, the human representative to the Galactic Council. He had listened quietly as the aliens mocked his people and their warship. But unlike the others, he wasn't smiling. Ambassador Kane knew the relic well. It was indeed an ancient ship, but it was far from obsolete. The humans had poured years of work into restoring it, bringing it back to life with the best technology they had. The relic was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a reminder that they could rise from the ashes and surprise those who underestimated them. As the meeting drew to a close, the alien leaders continued to laugh and joke about the relic. To them, it was nothing more than a punchline, a reminder of how far they had come compared to the humans. But Kane knew better. He knew that the relic was not just a ship, it was a message. A message that humanity was not to be underestimated. As he left the hall, Kane couldn't help but smile to himself. Let them laugh, he thought. Let them think that humanity is weak. The truth would be revealed soon enough. And when it was, the galaxy would never be the same again. For now, the relic was just a joke to the aliens. But soon it would roar to life and the laughter would stop. Kane was certain of that. And when it happened, the galaxy would learn a lesson they would never forget. The Secret Awakening. In a hidden corner of the galaxy, far away from prying eyes, a massive space station orbited a lifeless moon. The station was old, its metal surface scarred and weathered by centuries in space. To most, it looked abandoned, forgotten by time. But deep within its bowels, something extraordinary was happening. A team of human engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, their faces lit by the soft glow of holographic screens. They moved quickly and quietly, their focus intense. They had a mission, one that required secrecy and precision. The heart of their work was the Relic, an ancient human warship, once thought to be lost to history. The Relic was massive, its hull a dark gray that seemed to absorb the light around it. It had been found drifting in space, a ghost ship from a bygone era. Many had assumed it was beyond repair, a relic of the past with no future. But these humans saw something different. They saw potential. Commander Sarah Hayes, the leader of the team, stood on a platform overlooking the ship. Her sharp eyes scanned the scene below as her crew worked. Sarah was a seasoned officer, known for her calm demeanor and sharp mind. She had been chosen for this mission because of her reputation for getting things done, no matter how difficult. "Status report," she called out, her voice firm but steady. "We're almost ready, Commander," replied Lieutenant Greg Mason, the chief engineer. He was standing near a control panel, his hands moving swiftly over the controls. "The main power core is stable and the weapons systems are online. We're just about ready to start the activation sequence." Sarah nodded, pleased with the progress. This project had been in the works for years, and now they were finally on the verge of bringing the relic back to life. It hadn't been easy. Restoring an ancient warship was no small task. But Sarah's team had faced every challenge head-on, driven by a shared belief in what this ship could represent for humanity. "Let's begin the sequence," Sarah ordered, her voice carrying a note of anticipation. "It's time to wake her up." Greg gave a quick nod and began the activation sequence. The room filled with the sound of machines humming to life. The lights on the relic flickered, then slowly brightened, illuminating the massive ship in a soft, eerie glow. The ancient vessel seemed to stir like a giant waking from a long slumber. The crew watched in awe as the ship's systems came online, one by one. Monitors displayed readings of energy levels, weapon statuses, and shield integrity. Everything was functioning perfectly, better than anyone had dared to hope. "The relic was alive. Power levels are stable," Greg reported, his voice filled with excitement. "The weapon systems are fully operational. Shields are at maximum capacity." "She's ready, Commander." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This was the moment they had all been working towards, and it was finally here. "Good work, everyone," she said, her voice warm with pride. "Let's see what this old girl can do." As the crew continued to monitor the ship, Sarah couldn't help but think about the significance of what they were doing. The relic was more than just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience and determination. The aliens had laughed at it, dismissing it as a worthless piece of junk. But Sarah and her team knew better. They knew that this ship, once fully operational, would be a force to be reckoned with. "Commander," Greg's voice broke through her thoughts, "we're picking up something unusual on the sensors." Sarah's brow furrowed as she moved to his side. "What is it?" Greg pointed to the monitor, where a series of strange readings were displayed. "It looks like a signal, but it's coming from inside the ship." "Inside the ship?" Sarah repeated, puzzled. "What kind of signal?" Greg shook his head, his expression serious. "I'm not sure. It's old, very old. But it's definitely coming from within the ship's core." Sarah stared at the monitor, her mind racing. What could it be? The relic had been dormant for centuries, its systems shut down and abandoned. How could there be a signal now? "Let's investigate," she decided. "Send a team to the core and find out what's going on. I want to know what we're dealing with." Within minutes, a small team of engineers, led by Greg, suited up and made their way into the depths of the ship. The corridors were dark and silent, the air heavy with the weight of centuries. As they moved deeper into the ship, the signal grew stronger, guiding them toward the core. Finally, they reached the heart of the relic, a massive chamber filled with ancient machinery. The signal was coming from a large, spherical device in the center of the room. It was old, covered in dust and grime, but still operational. Greg approached the device cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. "What is this thing?" he muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. One of the engineers, a young woman named Lily, scanned the device with her handheld scanner. "It's a data core," she said, her voice tinged with surprise. "But it's not just any data core, it's an AI core." Greg's eyes widened in shock. "An AI? On this ship?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Yes, and it's still active." Back on the command platform, Sarah listened to the report with growing excitement. An AI, this was unexpected, but it could change everything. The relic wasn't just a powerful warship. It was a ship with a mind of its own. "Bring the AI online," Sarah ordered, her voice steady. "Let's see what it has to say." The crew worked quickly, and within moments the AI core was fully activated. The chamber filled with a soft, pulsating light as the AI came to life. A holographic interface appeared in front of Greg, displaying a series of symbols and codes. Then, a voice echoed through the ship, calm, clear, and distinctly human. "Systems online." Awaiting orders. Greg exchanged a look with his team, then spoke into his comms. "Commander, the AI is online. It's ready for commands." Sarah's heart raced with excitement. This was it. The relic was truly alive, and with an AI at its core, it was more powerful than they had ever imagined. "Welcome back," Sarah said softly, her voice filled with awe. "We have work to do." The relic had awakened, and soon the galaxy would feel its power. The laughter of the aliens would be silenced, and humanity would show them that they were not to be underestimated. The first strike. The dark void of space was silent, as it always was. But today something different was about to happen. In the secret hangar orbiting the lifeless moon, the relic hovered, fully operational and ready for action. The ship's massive engines hummed quietly, and its sleek, newly restored hull gleamed under the distant light of a nearby star. Inside, the crew was a mix of nerves and excitement. They were about to embark on the relic's first mission since its awakening. Commander Sarah Hayes stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic map in front of her. The map displayed a section of space known as the Typhon Expanse, a region controlled by the Zarnak Empire. This was where they would make their first move, a strike that would show the galaxy what the relic could do. "We've received intelligence that a Zarnak outpost is located here," Sarah said, pointing to a glowing red dot on the map. "It's a small outpost, but it's heavily fortified. Our mission is to destroy it and send a message that humanity is not to be underestimated." The crew members around her nodded, their expressions serious. They knew the risks. The Zarnak Empire was one of the most powerful in the galaxy, and attacking one of their outposts was no small feat. But they also knew that this was their chance to prove that the relic was more than just an old ship. It was a symbol of humanity's strength and determination. Lieutenant Greg Mason, standing at the engineering console, checked the ship's systems one last time. "All systems are green, Commander," he reported. "Weapons are fully charged and shields are at maximum. The AI is ready and waiting for your command." Sarah nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "Good. Helm, set a course for the Typhon Expanse. Engage cloaking systems and prepare for a stealth approach." "Aye, Commander," the helmsman replied, his hands moving swiftly over the controls. The relic began to move, its engines powering up as it set a course for the Zarnak outpost. The ship shimmered briefly, then vanished from sight as the cloaking systems activated. As the ship sped through space, Sarah took a moment to reflect on what they were about to do. This was not just a mission, it was a test of the relic's capabilities and a test of humanity's resolve. The aliens had laughed at them, mocked them for resurrecting an ancient warship, but now they would see just how wrong they were. "ETA to the outpost is 15 minutes, the helmsman announced, breaking Sarah's thoughts. "Good," Sarah replied, her voice calm and focused. "Prepare the weapons. We'll drop out of..." The crew moved with purpose, their hands flying over their consoles as they prepared the ship for battle. The atmosphere on the bridge was tense, but there was also a sense of anticipation. They had trained for this moment, and now it was finally here. As the relic approached the outpost, the holographic map zoomed in to show the target in greater detail. The Zarnak outpost was a large structure, bristling with defensive turrets and shield generators. It was built into a small asteroid, making it a formidable target. But the relic was not just any ship. It was a ship designed for war, and it was more than capable of taking on the challenge. "Commander, we're coming out of cloak in 30 seconds, the helmsman reported. "Understood," Sarah replied, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the target. "All hands, prepare for battle. This is it." The seconds ticked by slowly, each one feeling like an eternity. Then, with a sudden jolt, the relic dropped out of cloak, revealing itself to the Zarnak outpost. Alarms blared across the enemy station as they realized they were under attack. But it was too late. "Fire all weapons," Sarah ordered, her voice ringing out with authority. The relic unleashed its full arsenal. Beams of bright energy lanced out from the ship's cannons, slicing through the darkness of space and slamming into the outpost. Explosions erupted across the surface of the asteroid as the defensive turrets were obliterated in a hail of fire. The outpost's shields flickered and failed under the relentless assault. "Direct hits on all targets," Greg reported, his voice filled with excitement. "Their defenses are down." "Good," Sarah replied, her eyes gleaming with determination. "Prepare the torpedoes. Let's finish this." The relic's torpedo bays opened, and a volley of powerful projectiles streaked toward the outpost. They struck with devastating force, tearing through the asteroid's surface and reaching the core. A massive explosion followed, sending debris flying in all directions as the outpost was destroyed. On the bridge of the relic, the crew watched in awe as the outpost was reduced to rubble. It was a sight they would never forget, a testament to the power of their ship and the strength of their resolve. "Mission accomplished," Sarah said, her voice steady. "We're not done yet, but this is a good start." As the relic turned away from the wreckage and engaged its cloaking systems once more, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The first strike had been a success, and the message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The galaxy would learn that the relic was not just an old warship, it was a symbol of a new era. The battle begins. The relic drifted silently through space, cloaked and nearly invisible. The destruction of the Zarnak outpost had been swift and brutal, a clear message to anyone who dared to challenge humanity. But the crew of the relic knew that their first strike was only the beginning. The real battle was about to start. Commander Sarah Hayes stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. The map showed the debris of the destroyed outpost, now little more than scattered fragments. But it also showed something else. 3 Zarnak warships speeding toward their position. "They're coming," Sarah said, her voice calm but filled with urgency. 3 enemy ships, all heavily armed. They must have been nearby when we attacked the outpost. Lieutenant Greg Mason quickly scanned the incoming ships. "They're fast, Commander. ETA to our position is 5 minutes. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had expected a response, but not this quickly. The Zarnak warships were notorious for their speed and firepower, and now 3 of them were closing in on the relic. "All hands, battle stations," Sarah ordered, her voice steady. "We need to be ready." The crew sprang into action, their hands flying over the controls. The tension on the bridge was palpable, but there was also a sense of determination. They had chosen this fight, and they were ready to face whatever came next. "Commander, we're still cloaked," the helmsman reminded her. "They don't know exactly where we are." Sarah nodded, considering their options. The element of surprise had worked in their favor during the attack on the outpost. But now, with 3 warships bearing down on them, staying hidden might not be enough. "We need to draw them in closer," she said, her mind racing. "If we can get them to cluster together, we can take them out in one strike." Greg glanced at the display, calculating distances and trajectories. "We could use the debris field to our advantage," he suggested. "If we hide among the fragments, they might not detect us until it's too late." "Do it!" Sarah ordered. "Helm, take us into the debris field. Keep us cloaked and maintain radio silence. We'll let them come to us." The relic glided silently into the remains of the destroyed outpost, weaving between the larger chunks of debris. The crew held their breath, knowing that one mistake could give away their position. But the relic was a warship built for this kind of maneuvering, and the helmsman guided it with precision. The Zarnak warships drew closer, their powerful engines pushing them through space at high speed. On board the lead ship, Captain Zarin watched the display with a scowl. The outpost had been destroyed, and the enemy was nowhere to be seen. But he knew they were out there, hiding, waiting. "They think they can outsmart us," Zarin growled. "But we'll find them. Scan the debris field. I want that ship found and destroyed." The Zarnak ships slowed as they approached the debris, their sensors sweeping through the wreckage. But the relic remained hidden, its systems running at minimal power to avoid detection. On the bridge of the relic, Sarah watched the enemy ships on the display, waiting for the right moment. They were almost in position, just a little closer, and they would be within range of her plan. "Steady," she murmured, her eyes locked on the display. Not yet. The enemy ships moved closer, unaware of the trap they were about to spring. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she waited, every second feeling like an eternity. The Zarnak ships were now within range, clustered together as they searched for their hidden foe. "Now!" Sarah ordered, her voice sharp. The relic decloaked in an instant, its powerful engines roaring to life. The sudden appearance of the warship caught the Zarnak by surprise, and before they could react, the relic opened fire. Beams of searing energy shot out from the relic's cannons, targeting the nearest Zarnak ship. The first beam sliced through the ship's shields, while the second struck its engines, causing a massive explosion. The Zarnak ship shuddered and began to drift, its systems failing under the relentless assault. The other two Zarnak ships scrambled to respond, their weapons charging as they tried to return fire. But the relic was already on the move, darting between the debris and evading their shots with practiced ease. "Keep the pressure on," Sarah shouted, her voice filled with adrenaline. "Don't give them a chance to regroup." The relic fired again, this time targeting the second Zarnak ship. The beam struck the ship's weapons array, disabling it in a single hit. The Zarnak ship's captain, panicking, ordered a retreat, but it was too late. A torpedo from the relic slammed into the ship's hull, causing it to explode in a brilliant flash of light. Only one Zarnak ship remained, its captain desperately trying to escape. But the relic was faster, its engines propelling it forward as it pursued the fleeing ship. With a final, devastating blast, the relic destroyed the last of the enemy ships, leaving nothing but wreckage in its wake. On the bridge of the relic, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. They had won the first battle, but they knew the war was far from over. "Good work, everyone," Sarah said, her voice calm but tired. "We've shown them what the relic can do. But this is just the beginning. We need to stay alert. They'll be coming for us now." As the relic moved away from the debris field, Sarah knew that the real fight was still ahead of them. But for now, they had won a crucial victory. The relic had proven itself in battle, and the galaxy would soon learn that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. Alien fear. The remnants of the Zarnak warships floated lifelessly through space, their once mighty presence reduced to nothing more than shattered metal and burning wreckage. The relic had proven its power, but the victory had far-reaching consequences that were just beginning to unfold. On the bridge of the Zarnak flagship, far from the battlefield, Admiral Krex paced back and forth, his scales glinting under the cold lights of the command deck. The reports had come in rapidly, one after another, each more alarming than the last. 3 of their most advanced warships had been destroyed by a single human vessel, a ship they had thought was nothing more than a relic, an ancient piece of human history, of no real threat. "How could this happen?" Krex hissed, his voice filled with anger and fear. He slammed his clawed fist onto the console, causing the nearby officers to flinch. "We underestimated them, and now we've paid the price." The crew was silent, too terrified to speak. They had always seen the humans as weak, a species barely worth considering in the grand schemes of galactic dominance. But this event had shattered that perception. The relic was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of human resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, humanity was a force to be reckoned with. Admiral Krex stared at the holographic display of the battlefield. The wreckage of their warships glowed faintly in the cold vacuum of space. His mind raced as he considered the implications. If one human ship could do this, what else were they capable of? "We need to spread the word," Krex finally said, his voice low and filled with dread. "The other fleets must know what we're dealing with. This is no ordinary enemy." Across the Zarnak Empire, the news of the defeat spread like wildfire. Panic began to take hold among the ranks. The idea that humans, with their primitive technology, could defeat some of the most advanced warships in the galaxy was almost too much to believe. But the evidence was undeniable. On various Zarnak worlds, the news broadcasts showed images of the battle, the destroyed ships, and the relic emerging victorious. The fear among the Zarnak populace grew with each passing hour. If humans could destroy 3 warships so easily, what would happen if they decided to launch a full-scale attack? In the Zarnak High Council, the leaders convened an emergency session. The Grand Chamber, usually filled with calm deliberation, was now a place of anxiety and fear. The council members, who had once scoffed at the idea of humans posing any real threat, were now confronted with the harsh reality. "This is unacceptable," one of the council members shouted, his voice trembling. "How could this happen? How could we allow such a thing to happen?" "They must have developed new technology," another counselor suggested, though his voice lacked conviction. "Something we didn't anticipate. New technology? Nonsense!" an elder counselor snapped. "We've monitored their progress for centuries. They've made advancements, yes, but nothing that could explain this level of destruction." The room fell silent as the members grappled with the situation. They had always considered the Zarnak Empire to be the most powerful force in the galaxy. But now, that confidence was being eroded by fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of a species they had underestimated. "We must consider the possibility that the humans are more dangerous than we ever imagined," the elder counselor finally said, his voice somber. "We need to prepare for the worst. If the humans decide to strike again, we must be ready." Back on the relic, Commander Sarah Hayes could sense the change in the air. The crew had been monitoring Zarnak communications, and the fear was palpable. They had sent a message, loud and clear, and the Zarnak Empire was listening. "Looks like we've rattled them," Lieutenant Greg Mason remarked, a hint of satisfaction in his voice as he reviewed the intercepted transmissions. Sarah nodded, though her expression remained serious. "We've made them afraid, but that doesn't mean they'll back down. Fear can make enemies even more dangerous." The relic continued its journey through space, moving away from the site of the battle. But Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. The Zarnak would respond, and when they did, it would be with overwhelming force. They had seen what humanity was capable of, and now they would do everything in their power to crush that threat. But Sarah wasn't afraid. She knew her crew, and she knew the relic. They had faced impossible odds before, and they would do it again if necessary. The Zarnak might have the numbers, but humanity had something far more powerful: the will to survive, no matter the cost. As the relic disappeared into the vastness of space, the fear it had instilled in the Zarnak Empire spread like a virus. Whispers of the human warship began to circulate in other parts of the galaxy, reaching the ears of other species who had once considered humanity insignificant. Now, they were beginning to reconsider. And so the legend of the relic grew, a tale of a once-forgotten warship that had roared to life, striking fear into the hearts of those who dared to laugh at humanity. Human victory. The Zarnak fleet was vast, a terrifying armada of ships designed to dominate and destroy. They had regrouped after their initial defeat, determined to crush the human threat once and for all. The alien command was resolute. The relic would be annihilated, and with it, the humans' audacity would be buried in the cold void of space. As the fleet advanced, the relic stood alone, a solitary silhouette against the backdrop of distant stars. Inside the human warship, the atmosphere was tense but resolute. The crew knew what was coming. They were facing an overwhelming force. But there was no fear, only determination. Commander Sarah Hayes surveyed the tactical display on the bridge. The Zarnak ships were closing in, their formation tight and menacing. They outnumbered the Relic by a staggering margin, but Sarah's eyes were steady, her mind focused. "They're coming in fast," Lieutenant Greg Mason reported, his voice calm despite the tension. "We won't have much time once they're in range." Sarah nodded, her gaze fixed on the screen. "Prepare the main cannon and get the shield generators to maximum. We're going to need every bit of power we've got." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, each member knowing their role in the coming battle. The Relic was old, a relic in every sense of the word, but it had been built to last, designed by human engineers who had anticipated the needs of future generations. The ship had secrets, hidden technologies and weapons that were far ahead of their time. The Zarnak fleet opened fire first, a barrage of energy blasts and missiles streaking toward the Relic. The ship shook under the impact, but its shields held firm. The crew could feel the force of each hit, but they didn't falter. They knew this was just the beginning. "Return fire!" Sarah ordered, her voice ringing out with authority. The Relic responded with a ferocious volley of its own. Its cannons roared to life, sending beams of energy slicing through the darkness of space. The Zarnak ships were fast, but the Relic was faster. Its targeting systems locked onto the nearest enemy vessels, and within seconds, 2 Zarnak cruisers exploded in a blaze of fire and debris. On the Zarnak flagship, Admiral Krex watched in horror as his ships were torn apart. The human warship moved with an agility that defied its age, and its weapons were far more powerful than they had anticipated. Fear began to creep into his mind. This was not the easy victory he had promised his superiors. This was a nightmare. "Focus all firepower on that ship," Krex shouted, desperation edging his voice. "It cannot be allowed to survive." The Zarnak fleet obeyed, pouring every ounce of their firepower into the Relic. The human ship was engulfed in a storm of energy blasts and explosions, but it did not break. The shields flickered, strained under the relentless assault, but they held. Inside the Relic, the crew braced themselves as the ship shook violently. The lights flickered and alarms blared, but they held their positions. Sarah knew they couldn't take much more of this. The shields were nearly depleted, and the hull was beginning to show signs of damage. "Prepare to fire the Nova cannon," Sarah commanded, her voice calm but urgent. The Nova cannon was the Relic's ultimate weapon, a piece of technology so advanced that it had been kept hidden even from most of the crew. It required immense power, draining the ship's energy reserves almost completely, but it was their only chance of survival. "Nova cannon ready," Lieutenant Mason confirmed, his hands flying over the controls. "We'll only get one shot at this." Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing as she locked onto the Zarnak flagship. She knew what was at stake. If they missed, they wouldn't have enough power left to defend themselves. But if they succeeded, the battle would be over. "Fire," she ordered. The Relic unleashed the Nova cannon. A blinding beam of energy shot out from the ship, cutting through space with unimaginable speed and power. The Zarnak fleet had no time to react. The beam struck the flagship directly, piercing its shields and ripping through its hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking several nearby Zarnak vessels with it. For a moment there was silence. The Zarnak fleet, leaderless and in disarray, faltered. They had lost their command ship, and the realization of their defeat began to sink in. The Relic had done the impossible. It had turned the tide of battle and emerged victorious. On the bridge of the Relic, the crew watched as the remaining Zarnak ships began to retreat. The threat was over. They had won. A cheer erupted among the crew, a sound of triumph and relief. They had faced overwhelming odds, but they had prevailed. The Relic, the ancient warship that the Zarnak had laughed at, had proven to be their worst nightmare. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she surveyed the aftermath. The Zarnak had underestimated humanity, and they had paid the price. But she knew this victory was more than just a battle won. It was a message to the entire galaxy, a message that humanity was not to be trifled with. "Good work, everyone," she said, her voice filled with pride. "We've shown them what humans are made of." The Relic powered down its weapons and began to chart a course back to human space. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. And with the Relic leading the way, Humanity was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. A new respect. The stars shone brightly as the relic made its way back to human space. The once laughing Zarnak fleet was now in shambles, with only a few ships managing to escape the wrath of the ancient human warship. As the dust settled and the debris of battle floated aimlessly in the void, the galaxy began to take notice. In the aftermath of the battle, news of the relic's victory spread like wildfire across the cosmos. Once dismissed as a relic of the past, the ship had now become a symbol of human strength and resilience. It was no longer just a story of a forgotten warship. It was a story of a species that refused to be underestimated. On the bridge of the relic, Commander Sarah Hayes sat in quiet contemplation. The adrenaline of battle had worn off, leaving a deep sense of satisfaction in its place. But with that satisfaction came the weight of what had been achieved. She knew that this victory was just the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command," Lieutenant Greg Mason reported, breaking the silence. "Put it through," Sarah replied, turning her attention to the communication screen. The screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Admiral Thomas Blackwood, a high-ranking official in the United Earth Defense Force. His expression was one of both pride and concern. "Commander Hayes," Admiral Blackwood began, his voice steady, "I've been informed of your recent engagement with the Zarnak fleet. I must say, your performance has exceeded all expectations." "Thank you, Admiral," Sarah replied, maintaining her professional demeanor. "The crew of the relic deserves all the credit. They fought bravely and without hesitation." "Indeed they did," Blackwood agreed. "But I must emphasize that this victory, while significant, has also drawn considerable attention. The galaxy is now watching us, and they are seeing humanity in a new light. The Zarnak will not be the only ones to take notice." Sarah nodded, understanding the implications of his words. The relic had proven that humanity was not to be taken lightly, but with that respect came new challenges. Other alien races, some more powerful and dangerous than the Zarnak, would undoubtedly be interested in testing the strength of this seemingly unstoppable warship. "We're prepared for whatever comes next," Sarah assured him. "The relic is more than just a ship. It's a symbol of what humanity can achieve when pushed to the brink. We won't back down from any challenge." Admiral Blackwood's expression softened slightly, a hint of a smile forming on his lips. "I have no doubt about that, Commander. But remember, with this new respect comes new responsibilities. We must be cautious, strategic. The relic has given us an edge, but it's up to us to ensure that edge is used wisely." "Understood, Admiral?" Sarah replied firmly. "We'll proceed with caution, but we won't shy away from defending humanity's place in the galaxy." "Good," Blackwood said with a nod. "I'll be in touch with further orders soon. Until then, return to Earth for debriefing and repairs. You and your crew have earned a well-deserved rest." The transmission ended, and the screen went dark. Sarah leaned back in her chair, letting out a small sigh of relief. The battle was over, but the war was far from finished. She knew that the relic would be called upon again, perhaps sooner than she'd like. As the relic continued its journey back to Earth, the crew began to relax, knowing that they had achieved something extraordinary. Conversations filled the corridors, and the tension that had gripped them during the battle began to ease. Lieutenant Mason approached Sarah on the bridge, a thoughtful look on his face. "Do you think they'll ever see us the same way again?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity. Sarah glanced at him, a faint smile playing on her lips. "No, Greg, I don't think they will. We've changed the way the galaxy sees us. We've earned their respect, but that respect will come with new challenges. It's up to us to live up to what we've started." Mason nodded, his expression serious. "The crew's ready, whatever happens. We know what's at stake." Sarah felt a deep sense of pride as she looked around the bridge, at the men and women who had stood with her through it all. They were more than just a crew. They were a family, bound together by the trials they had faced and the victories they had won. "Let's take it one step at a time," she said, her voice calm but determined. "For now, we head home. We'll regroup, repair, and get ready for whatever comes next. The galaxy may be watching, but we're more than ready to show them what humanity is capable of." The relic soared through space, a beacon of human perseverance and strength. As it approached Earth, the crew knew that their journey was far from over. They had earned a new respect, and with it the weight of responsibility. But they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead and to carve out humanity's place among the stars. And as the warship entered Earth's orbit, the crew couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of purpose. They had proven themselves in battle, and now they would prove themselves as the guardians of humanity's future. The galaxy had been put on notice. The humans were here to stay, and they would not be underestimated again.